My name is Amantha and I acknowledge the land that I'm coming from, the Kulin Nation. Have you ever wanted to drive positive change at work? I'm Amantha Imber, part of LinkedIn Australia's Changemakers, a group of people enacting change by driving conversations about topics most important to Australian professionals. In this practical session, me and some of the other members of the LinkedIn Changemakers program are going to be discussing ideas that can inspire Aussies on how to make progress in the workplace. So firstly, we have Toby Thorpe, who has twice led the Tasmanian youth delegation as part of the United Nations Climate Change Conference and is the current Tasmanian Young Australian of the Year.
My name's Toby and I'm calling in from the land of the Muanina people, in Palawa people, in Nipaluna and Lutruwita.
We also have Findlay OWM, who is an award-winning writer, speaker and appearance activist and the creator of Access to Fashion at Melbourne Fashion Week.
Hi, I'm Carly Findlay and I'm coming to you from the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation here in Naarm.
Finally, we have Brenda Gaddi, and she has been championing women's voices for over a decade and is the founder of Women of Colour Australia, a non-profit organisation run by women of colour for women of colour.
Hi, I'm Brenda and I'm coming to you from the sovereign land of the Wallumattagal clan of the Darug Nation. I pay my respects to the elders past and present.
Carly, let's start with you. You describe yourself as an appearance activist. I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
The title appearance activist came to me a few years ago when I was on the ABC and I was talking to Ginger Gorman, the amazing journalist, troll hunting expert, and Ginger coined me an appearance activist. So I write and speak around what it is like to look different. So while the skin condition itself is very painful, what is more painful are people's reactions to it.
And so what is something that people can do to help? Maybe something simple.
I feel like myself and others with visible differences, facial differences, disability, whatever, are treated very differently to those without. So I feel like I am treated differently to the customer before or after me. They often get a hello. I don't. I get a what's wrong with you? Are you sunburnt? Oh my God, what happened to you? And so I invite people, instead of the first thing that people say is to question or comment on someone's appearance, say hello.
I really love that, Carly. It's so simple and practical. Just saying hello. I'd love to know, what do the other panelists think in terms of how else can we be great allies?
One simple idea is to put image descriptions on your social media posts. It's something very simple and something easy for us to do that will show our solidarity with the disabled community.
I think that's great to know because I imagine there are a lot of people that scroll through Instagram and are now seeing the image ID and are probably wondering, why is that there? So that's really, I think, interesting and important for people to know. So, Toby, I'd love to know, what are some of the areas that make our workplaces less sustainable right now?
The areas that make our workplaces less sustainable are sometimes not the most obvious. We're really great at talking about waste. We're really great at talking about energy consumption. But we need to shift that conversation to really understand the impact that we have on the environment and the world on when we're trying to get to the workplace, when we're going home from the workplace, during our lunch breaks or social activities. Sustainability is a much broader context when we take it into the way we transport ourselves, the way we communicate, the food that we eat, but also the narrative that we share.
So what's something easy that we could all do tomorrow?
Write down your day. Write down, where did you get your coffee? Did you have a keep cup? How did you get to work? Was there a more sustainable option like catching a bus, walking or riding? Or even talking about how much energy consumption have you used today? What could you have done on your laptop settings or your computer settings? Is there an energy saver setting? How much battery have you used on your phone? There's a whole range of things we can do, but I think the first step to really understand our impact is write down and log your day and tick off the boxes of being more sustainable and having a broad conversation with your colleagues about what you've done today.
An equal workplace is a better workplace. And as an expert in this area, Brenda, I'd love for you to expand on why you believe that growth and comfort do not coexist and what we can do about this.
As a minoritized and racialized woman in this white-centered world or white-centered society, I know for a fact, and I've experienced this ever since I set foot on the settler colonial continent, that the minute I step out of my house, I'm already judged with the way I speak. I have an accent. I am originally from the Philippines. And the color of my skin, I'm already judged the minute I walked out of the door. And so I have to always put that extra effort and always go out of my comfort zone to prove to the world, to the wide world, if you will, that I'm enough and I'm worth the space that I'm taking up.
What is something that people can do differently?
One thing I would say is question yourself and acknowledge that you have unconscious biases and ask yourself, how am I making my workplace safe, psychologically safe for people who have been minoritized historically?
So, Toby, I'd love to know, what ideas have you heard from your community that we should be considering?
A lot of ideas that I've come across have always been in educational workplaces where young people are really excelling the conversation about sustainable development, climate action, environmental protection. And it always comes back to individual actions. What can we do individually? Recycling properly, making sure we have a keep cup on us, riding our bike to school or work, catching the bus. All these little ideas are really important because individual actions collectively have a much bigger impact on the planet.
Callie, how about you? What ideas have you heard from your community?
I think that there's a myth that lived experience of disability includes carers and allies and parents, but that's not true. Proximity to disability doesn't mean lived experience. And I think that the people with lived experience are the disabled people, and we need to be there at the table when decisions are made about us. So that's what I'm hearing from the community. Nothing about us without us.
Brenda, how about you? What ideas are you hearing from your community?
Your struggles and my struggles are not the same. But if you come from a place of acknowledgement that your struggle and my struggle are interconnected and that we want to learn from each other's lived experiences.
So, Callie, if I could wave a magic wand and change only one thing in the workplace for the better, what would it be?
It would be to stop seeing disabled people as only eligible to work in entry level positions and to place us in roles across the organisation, including in leadership roles. But it's really important that our skills are seen as holistic and that we're given chances in every area of the organisation.
Okay, Brenda, I'm going to give you the magic wand now. What change would you make?
I would love for all organizations in Australia to be anti-racist and to really approach racial justice as a collective responsibility and moral imperative from the CEO to the frontline workers. If we do that, I think we can transform Australia, our society, and the world.
So, Toby, I'm now giving you the magic wand. What would you do with it?
If there was one thing that I could change about the workplace to make it more sustainable, is flip the way we think about sustainability. Right now, naturally, when we hear the word sustainability and action, we think crisis, issue, problem. But what if we could think about sustainability as an opportunity to be innovative, creative, and change the world? And we can solve these issues like sustainability and climate change with integrity, diversity, and also opportunity to revolutionise the way that the world works.
I want to move on to just like some really simple, practical things that people can do to make their workplace better. So, Carly, give me one simple, practical thing that anyone can do.
Put details of accessibility about the workplace on a website. So put things like what your building looks like from the front. Take a picture, image describe that. Make sure that people who are attending the workplace, whether it be for a job interview or to see a play or to attend a sporting match or to buy something, knows what to expect. The other thing is include the public transport around it, include accessible parking spaces around it, right? What is and what isn't accessible. So, for example, the entrance is wheelchair accessible. However, there is no lift to get between floors. Now, that isn't an inaccessible building, but at least you're preparing people so they know that it's inaccessible.
Toby, how about you? Give me something simple, practical that we can do tomorrow.
If we take away individual trash cans at everyone's desk, we can see an increase in recycling. There's an increase in thinking about what bin we should put our waste materials in. And ultimately, that creates a more sustainable, wasteful workplace if we have multiple bins in one collective location where it's not convenient to throw it under the desk.
Brenda, I'd love to hear more from you about that.
Question yourself when you turn up at your place of work, how am I making my fellow employees feel that they are valued, that they are respected, and that they are loved in the workplace? And always coming from a place of love and understanding, and or seeking to understand. And how am I, as a fellow employee, ensuring that my fellow employees are able to bring their whole authentic selves in the workplace?
So, Carly, what is one simple and practical thing that people can do to make workplaces better?
When you make things accessible for people in the workplace, for your customers, for your audiences, you bring in opportunities, you bring in a new market, you bring in new money, because people who are made to feel welcome are going to tell their friends about you. They're going to tell their clients about you. They're going to tell their families about you. And then accessibility, it absolutely makes people feel comfortable and valued and loved, but it also opens up more opportunities for you.
I want to know from all the panel, like, how are we feeling about the future of the workplace? Are we feeling good? Are we optimistic? Are we not? Carly, how are you feeling?
I'm really hoping that the provisions that we've seen because of COVID, because of the pandemic, so working from home, greater flexibility, online events, are going to be taken in a post-COVID world as well. Because for so many years, disabled people have been fighting for options like we've been provided during the pandemic. While we are moving into a, possibly living with COVID / post-COVID world, we maintain those things and we give people access to the things that were so accessible and so abundant during the pandemic and the lockdowns.
So, Toby, how are you feeling about the future of the workplace?
Well, Amantha, I think after today's conversation, I'm even more optimistic than I was when I come in. Understanding the different perspectives and different issues that need to be solved, need to be included, are really important. And I think in my context of sustainability, which is what I'm really passionate about, I am incredibly optimistic and hopeful that the world is the oyster that we all have to solve issues. And understanding the intersectionality of all these issues today has made me really hopeful that with big impact-driven initiatives like the Changemakers program with LinkedIn, we really do have a platform to revolutionise the way we think and act in the workplace, to change the way that we work, to change the way that we think, and to change the way that society works around us as well.
I love that this panel has contributed to your optimism, Toby. And Brenda, how about you? How are you feeling about the future of the workplace?
I'm hopeful. I want us to reimagine a world outside of the white dominant culture. I want us to imagine a world where every single one of us are able to bring our whole authentic selves into the workplace. So I think we can do better and we must do better. And I cannot wait to see that future become a present.
That's awesome, guys. I'm loving the optimism, and what a great place to end. So I'd like to say thank you to our amazing panelists, Brenda, Carly, and Toby. And if you would like to connect with any of the Changemakers, you can follow us, find us on LinkedIn.